The Old Witch and the Cat. A long time ago, lived the old witch Tekla in the dark woods from Russia. She liked the solitude, and she hated it, being disturbed. Tekla was an old, usually grouchy shaggy witch than a visit, and especially nothing better when even liked. She had a small house built from the materials they the dark woods of Russia had found. Tekla also found some things you could use: shells and cups, clothing, and even a flint. Tekla was particularly proud, so made them now every night a fire with their flint, listening cracking and crackling by combusting wood. They tried from time to time witches' spells out, so as not to get out of practice. Tekla was a witch old style. She had the witches then learned from her mother, and her mother again had learned it from her mother, and so on. It was not a rocket science book, from which one could see the witch sayings. No, you had all the sayings learned by heart, and to remember. That was, of course, not always easy. How often Tekla had missed as a young witch, and accidentally the wrong things conjured. Her mother had again and again admonished, better care. Most of all she was afraid trouble for Forrest, the master witch. Before all the young witches every 3 years their witch trials had to take. Who flunked there, got Waldred's tremendous power to feel. And Tekla was more than once flunked. Forrest had trod their punished afterwards. Tekla had Forrest trod witch's house from above, cleaning up below. She had heavy boxes with all kinds of witches crammed from the basement 3 stories high, drag into the roof floor, and each still so small error hexed Forrest trod Tekla's legs as heavy as lead. Fortunately was past exams after 3 witches all over, and Tekla never needed again Forrest to trod. Often Tekla had thought about it, Forrest trod hexing, but that had they not then yet married. Too great was their fear before Forrest trod revenge. In the evening, when she was sitting at her fire, thought Tekla the one time or another at that time, and imagined in their thoughts nasty penalties and curses for Forrest from trod. Someday Tekla collected just firewood, as a strange noise heard. It sounded like a faint whimper. Where the noise just came, and who caused it? Tekla looked around, but she could not see anyone. Then she heard whining for a second time. She walked slowly in the direction of elderberry bush, whose berries they had often plucked. Grumpy, but nevertheless curious, looked under the bush. There he sat, a hangover. With large colour eyes he looked at her and purred. Bewildered over foreign visitors, Tekla looked at the cat. Meow, said the cat, and came out from under the bush. He snuggled up to Tekla's legs and purring peacefully. As you only get here, Tekla be surprised. The cat let Tekla henceforth no longer the eyes, and followed her at every turn. Tekla liked the beginning completely not. They preferred the solitude. Yet you were animals at least better than people. The cat slept evening beside her and was still in the morning exactly at its foot. He accompanied the wooden pick and stood beside her, when evening their fire kindled. She enjoyed it, the hangover listened to her, but no eyed wood gave. She told him about the time, tests of the witches, from her terribly great hatred the master witch Forrest trod and the 3 bewitched people, which in the dark forest of Russia had strayed and she had bewitched. The hangover always sat purring beside her and patiently listened to everything. A few weeks went by and it was autumn. Slowly, why, surely were the evenings shorter and cooler. Always early had to rekindle their fire Tekla evening, so it warmed. Someday had the old witch frightful back pain, and could hardly move. She cursed the day and was always unfriendly. The cat realized their displeasure, but could not do about it. Grouchy stood on the witch, to firewood for the evening to collect, but she could barely bend. Just as she hands after a thick piece of wood stretched out, cracked it in her back and he was very stiff. Cursing, she trudged toward Hex and horseback. The cat did not move her from the side. He purred and wanted to emphasize Tekla legs. The witch, however, pushed the cat away rudely and muttered, "Go away, you stupid cat." All of a sudden flashed and the sky darkened. A massive thunder let quench the witch. Rain began and Tekla had trouble time in their house to come. It began to hail and quickly slipped the old witch by the door to her house. However, the hangover hit the door in their faces. Indoors Tekla was about to make a warm tea, when she heard a rumble, so loud was, as 2 mutually grinding rocks. The earth began to shake and suddenly broke the roof of the witch's house and simply flew away. Next broke a wall after another easily into thin air, and even the furniture had suddenly disappeared, as conjured away. Tekla was standing there, where just yet their kitchen had been, and still held her teacup in the hand and staring outside. Where just now the hangover had been standing outside the door, was no more hangovers. He had in the master witch Forrest Trud reconverted. And now Forrest held Trud, their powerful, pitch-black witch's wand in hand. With scowling stared at Tekla. Tekla took a while in order to understand. The hangover all the time Waltrud had been. "My goddess," blurted Tekla. "As you think of anything more, what Tekla?" replied Forrest Trud. "Horst probably not intended, that we both us once again see. Or, well, Tekla, if you had the time paying attention better, then you had known that there is still a time examination after the third witches another object is considered to exist. Only nobody knows when it's done." "But," Tekla interrupted them, "it can but not be. Where is my home? And of what kind of job you're talking about, Waltrud?" Double quote. "Oh but, you old witch woman," replied the master witch, "your house I have conjured away. You'll now no longer need the final task stating that every human being and each tier, with respect, must meet a lifelong. You have witchcraft 3 people because you whose presence not endure wanted, got me, the master witch Forrest Trud multiple cursed. And finally poor cat left during a storm at the door. And for that, you will now receive just punishment." Before Tekla could react, taught Forrest Trud their witches Ron the grouchy, old witch, and bewitched Tekla into a frog. Caught in the frog body, Tekla had only one chance. She had to water. With his last strength they hopped water and jumped in. But abruptly she realized, they for the rest their lives. A frog remained. She hoped that Forrest Trud this transformation soon undo and they would turn back. The master, however, which never thought in my mind. On the contrary. First of all hexed the spider, the beetles and the worm people back. They had been witchcraft before Tekla. And at Tekla better I to have. Forrest decided Trud, the next 100 years. The dark forest of Russia to stay. Then she wanted to Tekla a new chance give. Was that a nice good night story? Blessing from Brighid.
Welcome Witch Sisters, greeting Finn back to Udo, your roots throw connection to the earthlet. Yourself be enchanted from the magical energies of nature. Let yourself be sedinto a magical world of ancient myths and fairy tales. Once upon a time, and if they are not dead, then they are still alive today. Start like this and end old sagas and fairy tales. The modern world does the old magicless to imagination. We're working on it. That old magic will be resurrected. More in the video. You're welcome. Spread my videos are embedded on your website. Thanks also for yours. I like, please subscribe to my videos for the very time consuming video animations. Wiccaholisale.com. Blessed by Brighid.